there. So look, this is a really, really great opportunity for us to spend a little bit of time together this morning to invest in ourselves. You know, this has been a really challenging time for everybody in business. You know, at each end of the spectrum, we have businesses that are doing incredibly well because they are so busy. A lot of our clients that are in the FMCG sector, in the shopping orientated sectors, they're doing incredibly well. And then at the other end, you know, you've got hospitality, you've got tourism that's really, really struggling. And a lot of us have seen that things are really going up and down at the moment. And how do we as managers stay mentally fit during this period? How do we keep ourselves in a good place ultimately? And how can we make sure that we are, I suppose, in a way that we can really, really drive positive change in ourselves and in the business around us? So to do that, what I'm going to do is share a screen with you. And hopefully what you should be able to see is a few thoughts on how we might start that. And obviously, just to say, you know, this is brought to you today by Recruiters and Seachange Now. Recruiters, as many of you know, is a phenomenal recruitment firm that really have brilliant values. And that's why we've ultimately partnered together, is because the values are so strong. And Seachange Now, we're a leading development company, people development company. We work a lot in the coaching, team coaching space. And ultimately, we're always trying to help businesses to achieve their potential. And this webinar, as we said, is ultimately called Survival of the Mentally Fittest. And this is for you guys. This is how we can support you to get to as good a place as possible. Now, the first thing I want to give you is some data, because it's really, really interesting. A lot of people are talking negatively. A lot of people are talking about recession. A lot of people are talking about that there are serious issues and things that are going to happen in our world, and we're going to be challenged by those. That's always been the case. There has never been a period of time where we haven't faced some adversity. And what you'll see on the slide there in front of you is that we ultimately have within our awareness the knowledge that we'll always bounce back from these situations. And if you look at particularly swine flu, which hit in 2009, which you can see on the chart there, look at the way the market dipped. And what you're looking at here is a share index of the top shares all over the world. So it's like a global index. So it tracks what happened with the stock market as each pandemic happened. And you notice what happens in each single one of them. You might just let me know on the chat there. What are you noticing? What are the kind of things that really start to show up? What sort of things are you seeing happening? Yeah, it always goes up, right? So this is really, really, really important. So what we know is the market always bounces back. So then we need to be prepared for that. We need to be in a place that we can understand, how do we manage ourselves during this period? And to give you an idea about how we might start to do that, if we look at our next slide, you'll see that ultimately in pandemics, there are three distinct phases. So the first phase is survival. And that's what a lot of us have been doing, which is literally like, how do we keep the thing going? How do we keep our businesses open? How do we work? How do we function? How do we, you know, manage teaching our kids at home? You know, huge challenges that none of us have had to face before. And that's the survival piece. And the curve you see there, that's about energy levels. So what I'm seeing with a huge number of my clients at the moment is that they've just got through that survive piece. And that survive piece now is starting to wear off. So we're now moving from fear to fed up. And that's a real challenge for people, because now we have this up and down that, you know, some days are good, some days are not so good. So emotionally, it's very, very difficult to manage ourselves. By the way, this piece was looked at after the SARS epidemic, because in Asia, what they found was that, yes, everybody, you know, runs to the pumps, shoulder to the wheel, everybody's there in the survive phase to support people. But what happens then is, as soon as you kind of get into a new normal, there's a big dip in energy. Now, I don't know about you, but certainly about 2 weeks ago, I was exhausted. I think we were about 3 or 4 weeks into this crisis, and I just felt absolutely shattered. And it was the whole overwhelming sense of having really pushed hard to keep our business going, to restructure what we do, to pivot literally 100% into a digital orientated business. And then you get hit by the exhaustion. So has anybody felt that? Has anybody felt exhausted in the last few weeks? Just let us know there in the chat so we can just check in with each other and get the sense. Okay. Yes, there's some people really tired, floored. Yeah. Okay. And what's really, really interesting about this is that when we look at our energy, it's always about hormones. It's always about how we are processing the situation emotionally. And this is what mental fitness is about. So what we see is in that sustained period, survival, what do you think is the hormone most associated with survival? You might just put it up in the chat there. What do you think is the hormone most associated with survival? Yeah, adrenaline, cortisol, absolutely. Because what they do is they spike our energy levels. Think about it, adrenaline and cortisol are the hormones in our body that prepare us for fight or flight. They allow us to either defend ourselves, to attack something if it's attacking us, or sometimes we freeze. You know, that's another reaction that can happen. And if you've ever had the experience of, you know, driving your car and suddenly in front of you, somebody pulled up really, really quickly, unexpectedly, and you had to swerve to avoid them. You are so focused on that situation. Everything is in sharp color. You're absolutely on top of the situation. You can see exactly minutely how you're going to get around that car and move. Your senses are completely heightened. And that's what happens at the start of something like this when we're in survival. Now, 5 minutes down the road, when it kind of washes over you, that you've literally had a life and death experience, what'll happen to you? What do you notice? You might just let me know in the chat there. What do you notice happens? Yeah, so there's this sudden exhaustion, isn't there? You get the shakes, right? Because what's happened is your body was flooded with this huge amount of adrenaline and cortisol. And then all of a sudden it washes out of the body. And it's literally like we come off a sugar high or we come off a caffeine high, you will crash. And this is what's happening a huge amount in businesses at the moment. Our people are crashing. Now, video is not helping us because what's happening is people are literally doing 9 till 10, 10 till 11, 11 to 12, 12 to 1, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, and on and on and on, video sessions back to back to back. And in the middle of that, they're trying to mind children. They're trying to get the shopping done. They might be trying to get shopping to, you know, elderly parents or others who are in need. And we just feel a bit strained. So what's really, really important if we want to stay mentally fit is to understand how we manage our minds during this time. And so the sustained period now, we've come off into that kind of down place now. And this is where, unfortunately, people get very, very fed up and can get quite negative. So people start to look at the things that are not working and giving out about, oh, look, it's terrible. You know, I don't have my freedom. I don't have this. I don't have that. And unfortunately, now people start to feel a little bit down. So this is where we need to lift, because what's coming at the end of this is a surge. And this is what was seen after the SARS epidemic, is that business got back pretty quickly. You see, unlike the financial collapse in 2009, 2010, that was an infrastructural collapse. The banks themselves collapsed. And because of that, the infrastructure of business was absolutely stymied. We literally had no credit in the market. What's going to happen here is there will be a recession, but what's going to happen is everything shrinks, everything will get smaller, but it's still functional. So what's going to happen is there will be a surge. We're all going to get back, and suddenly we're going to be ramping up again in this surge phase to keep going. So how do we manage ourselves during this? Well, one of the things I'd like to do is to help you create not quite a scale model, but a representative model of your brain. And to do that, what I'd like you to do is put up your hand. So if you can raise your hand, and what I'd like you to do is get your thumb and put your thumb into your hand and close your fingers over that thumb. Okay. And then on top of your fist, I want you to put your other hand. Now you have a model of your brain. Now, let's start with the hand that's on top. So your left hand that's on top, this is actually your thinking brain, okay? It's what we call the neocortex. And all mammals have this, okay? This is the part of the brain that does thinking. Now, when stress, when shock, when anger kick in, guess what happens to our thinking brain? Yep, you've guessed it. It leaves us, okay? And what we go to is the emotional brain or the limbic brain. Now, this is the part of the brain that all mammals have. And we all have it because we need to live together in tribes, in groups, and we have to find a way to do that effectively. So you'll find all herd animals have this very strong emotional brain. Now, that's really good because that gives us emotional intelligence, but we can also become emotionally overwhelmed when we're in a crisis situation. And guess what happens then? Even that emotional intelligence, it leaves us. And what we're left with is our thumb. And our thumb represents the reptilian brain. And the reptilian brain is the dinosaur brain. It's the brain that is extremely ancient in terms of evolutionary terms. And what its only role is survival. And it operates in three ways: fight, flight, or freeze. And that's why you're going to see an awful lot of what you see in terms of human behavior around yourself at the moment. So to allow ourselves to, I suppose, be compassionate to people, that actually this is a normal reaction if we see people not thinking clearly and becoming emotional. If we see people then losing even all emotion and becoming simply survivalist in their attitude. And the longer this goes on, the more we start to see these things kick up. And as leaders, we need to be strong in ourselves, because if we start losing it, then everybody will start losing it. I was talking to somebody there recently who was just saying that, you know, their manager is coming across very negatively. They're talking about all the things that are wrong in the world. And while that might be factually correct, emotionally what it's doing for the business is it's draining everybody. Everybody's getting pulled down. And that does not bring people into a solution-orientated mindset, which is what we need at this particular time. So what we need to do is we need to find a way to overcome that reptilian instinct. We need to find a way to overcome that need to go out into negativity. As some of you may have heard the line before, the media are very familiar with a line called, "If it bleeds, it reads," okay? Blood sells newspapers. If there's something negative going on, that reptilian brain has a radar in it, and it will bring your awareness straight to the issue, straight to the problem, because what it's trying to do is protect you. However, if we look at news at the moment, it's overwhelmingly negative. It's all bad news. So what we need to do is we need to curtail the amount of negative news we have, and we as leaders and managers have to become a source of good news. It's interesting, I worked with Intel, and at one stage, you know, Intel had to actually demand that every single meeting in Intel was going to start with what they called bright spots, good things that were going on in the business. Why? Because Intel is populated by engineers. What do engineers do? They seek out problems to fix them, and that's brilliant. But if all we're talking about is problems, we're not going to feel good, because we won't have the emotional energy we need to succeed. So to help us do that, we're going to do something as a little exercise. So what I'd love you to do now is please sit down if you're standing or walking around, and I'd like you to close your eyes for a moment. And don't worry, because this is a webinar, nobody can see you. So we're all safe that way. So close your eyes. And what I'd like you to do is put one hand on your chest and one hand on your belly. And we're going to practice belly breathing. So what we're going to do is we're going to use our nose to breathe deeply in. And if that's available to you, breathe in through your nose, if not through your mouth, deeply into your belly, slowly and deeply. And release and relax. And keeping your eyes closed, continue to breathe deeply into your belly. So allow your belly to rise. Now this is called diaphragmatic breathing. And as we breathe deeply, we send a message to our nervous system that everything is okay. If you look at babies, babies only have two fears: loud noises and falling. They've no other fears. They don't fear the economy. They don't fear, you know, not having enough. They don't fear not being loved. And because of that, what you see is they will breathe with their bellies. And a brilliant doctor many, many years ago, Dr. Herbert Benson, working with people who are suffering from panic attacks, developed this technique. And what we're doing now is practicing that Benson's relaxation response, which is to breathe deeply into our bellies. And we're going to do 3-part breathing now. So I'm going to ask you to breathe in for 4 seconds, hold for 2 seconds, and release for 4 seconds. So we'll do that together. So starting 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 1, 2. Breathing out. 1, 2, 3, 4. And again, we're going to keep that going. So breathing in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 1, 2. And breathe out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now just keep doing that in your own rhythm as I'm talking to you, and keeping your eyes closed. You're allowing your breath to come and go. And as you do that, notice what's happening to your body. Notice how your mind has become quieter. You might feel your shoulders have relaxed a little bit. Your jaw is relaxing. Around your face, your eyes, your scalp relaxes. Feel like there's more space in your body. As your lungs are expanding, as your diaphragm is expanding, you're creating space. And this is really, really important, because when you are in this state, you are working in a very positive manner to let your body know that everything is okay. And just deepen that breathing again now. Just take another deep breath, just allowing yourself to go down another level. And each breath you're taking is taking you deeper and deeper into a perfect state of relaxation. And as you do that, you feel that you're really relaxing, releasing, and letting go. You might notice that in your body, there are certain areas of tension. Bring your breath to those areas. A lot of us, we hold our stress in our necks, shoulders, sometimes in our chest. A lot of emotional stress is carried around the hips. Our knees, our ankles, our joints can often hold a lot of stress and repressed anger. So just allow your breath to feed into those areas. And as you do, feel how centered and calm you're becoming. And each breath is taking you deeper and deeper into a perfect state of relaxation. And what we're doing now is we're working the opposite way against adrenaline. We're calming ourselves. Insight and clarity can only come when we are calm. So if we want to create insight around the situation we're in at the moment, clarity around the situation we're in, we must first bring ourselves to a calm place. And this is available to you at any time. All you need to do is practice this deep breathing, and you'll feel yourself relax. And this is also something that you can teach to your staff and to the people around you. And this no longer seems kooky or strange or weird. This is actually the most fundamental thing that is available to you as a human being, which is your breath. We have to always bring our awareness to our breathing. When we do, we will become aware of our emotional state, our mental state, our physical state, our spiritual state. And then we can choose the state that we want to have by allowing ourselves to very calmly approach the situation that's around us. So I'm going to count you back to a full waking consciousness. So keep your eyes closed. 5, you're aware of the fact that you're in a room, sitting on a chair. 4, stretching your fingers and toes. Just feel yourself wake up, feel your body becoming energized. 3, taking in a lovely deep breath. Feel yourself fill up with really powerful oxygen and allow yourself to come fully back into the moment. 2, big stretch of the arms, reach them out each side. Twist your arms forward, twist them back so your shoulders get a lovely tilt backwards and forwards. Bring your arms up above your head, pushing your hands together, stretching. And 1, fully conscious and coming back into the room. So I'd invite you, if you'd like to post a word up on the chat. What do you feel at the moment? How do you feel after doing that exercise? There's no right or wrong in this exercise. So how do you feel? So we've relaxed. What else have we got there? How are people feeling at this moment in time? How are people feeling? Okay, so we've got refreshed, invigorated, relaxed, focused. And what we can see is that our breath is this incredibly powerful thing that allows us to really positively create a really, really good emotional state. And that's the first thing. So just to recap on what we've covered, we have a really, really powerful brain. If we use that effectively, we can create very positive things for ourselves. If we allow it to run away with itself, it will unfortunately look for danger and negativity. What we can see from even stock market reports and what has always happened over a period of time is things will always get better. So as leaders, to be mentally strong and fit, we first of all have to be positive. We then need to stay calm. We need to help others. And in doing that, then we're going to create a really positive situation in our workplaces, whether that be virtually or not. And my final point to leave you on is this one, that ultimately, as leaders, what we need to do is stay safe, which is to follow government advice, stay calm, which is practice your belly breathing or your meditation every day. This has to become part of your routine. Stay positive. Envision a better future. It always gets better. And help others. Be in your heart. Be compassionate. This is the time to reach out to other people. And if one of the silver linings of this cloud will be that people are more connected, more compassionate, and more human, then that may be a good thing that comes out of this COVID-19. It's been an absolute pleasure to work with you here this morning, and I hope that you have found this useful. We'll post the slides out to everybody who was online, and there'll also be one of these sessions each week, every Friday at 10 o'clock. And so if you've got colleagues, if you've got friends, if you've got parents, brothers, sisters, anybody who you feel would benefit from this positivity and some practical techniques to get through this time, please feel free to bring them in as part of the call. And this call is recorded, so you can also go back and listen to it and use some of this. So I hope you found that useful, and any thoughts, ideas, comments, feedback you have, please share them on the chat there. And it's been a real pleasure working with everybody today. Thank you.